AFTV, Arsenal 2, Luton Town 0. James, a convincing 2-0 to say the least.
Comfortable 2-0.
Comfortable, that's better.
Don't know if I'd say convincing. But it was fine. Look, we all know I was on the watch along. We were talking about it. Of the five of us, I was the most, should we say, concerned or vocal about the fact that the second half wasn't very good. But, I was saying throughout, I'm not impressed by what I'm seeing, but if we get through, clean sheet, no problems, then you've got your perfect evening. And that's what it was, which is minutes given to key players, 3 points, 9 wins out of 10 now, with a draw at the Etihad being the only 2 drop points, which we all know I was happy about because, I felt that it showed a lot about this team. And now we've got back to winning ways. So for me, it was just very much job done, keep it moving. It was almost like just chalk a game off the schedule. I don't know if we built a lot of confidence out of it. I don't know if we built any momentum. But what we did was just give minutes to some key players and keep it going. And if you're giving minutes to some key players, you're giving rest to others. So overall, I think it was the perfect night in terms of getting that Arsenal squad and group into the right shape for this weekend.
No, of course. And now you mentioned that you wasn't too convinced about the game today, and obviously you were a bit concerned by the way we were playing, especially in that second half. And I noticed you got a lot of criticism for that. What was it that you were seeing that you wasn't particularly happy about?
Well, by talking about it, people kind of think that I'm obsessed by this second half. I'm really not. This went perfectly. I've said it's gone as good as it needed to. I am a believer in 2 things: momentum in football. I understand that you don't need to be at your scintillating best all the time, and that's fine because Arsenal in 2024 have been brilliant. But I look at the Brentford game, we had to fight to get over the line. Porto, fight to get over the line. A draw at City. So we actually haven't had great momentum, and of course there's a 19-day break in there. So we had great momentum going into this. So I'm a little bit hesitant that it's been a while since we've seen Arsenal actually at their best. It doesn't feel that very long ago. But okay, you can part that aside. I also feel in football, you never want to tempt fate. I think you can take your foot off the gas, still keep the ball and play. I felt we did too much of not having the ball in that second half. And actually, Raya was never asked any questions. So big up to the defence and big up to the shape and the concentration, the work ethic from the players throughout. But you never know. A deflection, back of the net. I think Burnley, it was a very similar game. We were kind of in total control, 1-0 up. And they just had a moment and they scored. And you're like, okay, we've got to go again. And luckily we did. Very soon after, we sort of took back the lead. So I'm just always a little bit nervy about tempting fate a little bit. You sit back and you're letting them play nearer our goal than nearer theirs. Something can happen. But look, the reality is Arsenal were in control of certainly their defensive third and keeping Luton shut out. They played some good football, Luton, there to go. But maybe also, I've seen this point made on Twitter, I think it's a good point I probably didn't appreciate at the time during the game, is last season there was a lot of ping-pong matches. Basketball's probably a better term.
Probably.
A lot of back and forth is what I'm trying to say. And we got caught in the run-in. And I was actually saying that the first half felt a little open. So maybe they just shut that off. You can overanalyze this kind of game. We all know that I'm prone to that kind of thing. But, that's what we're doing. We're watching Arsenal against 2 of the very best ever do it in Klopp and Pep. So you're looking at every detail to see if we're ready, if we're not, or whatever. The reality is 3 points, minutes given to the correct players. And I think you're probably going to ask, so I'm going to interject. But one crucial player I thought really stepped up, and that was Emil Smith-Rowe.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously you mentioned the amount of changes that we made today. I want to ask is first of all, if you were shocked by that, and B, obviously it didn't affect us in the long run, as we can see by the fact we got the 3 points. But do you think you're going to see a lot more of this, considering especially the fact we've got a stacked April, and obviously it's good to have a good sized squad behind us now. Do you think there's going to be a lot more of this rotation? And I don't want to say unimportant games, because every game's going to be important from this point onwards. More winnable. Yeah, but do you think you're going to see more of this rotation going forward?
No. I think actually the reason he rotated this much now was because he might not have another chance to do it. Everyone's talking about how difficult our running is. I agree, it's difficult, but this was, and I mean it, I'm not just saying you've got to respect Luton. I wholeheartedly respect Luton, the club, the fans, what that group of players have done since they've come in the league, and I really want them to stay up. Let's just get that out there. But it was the most winnable on paper, position-wise, the fact we were at home, everything. But I was surprised by how much he rotated. I didn't think he'd rotate that much. I thought, again, he'd want to maintain the momentum and want to keep things ticking with certain players. But you never know. Like, if Declan Rice looks rusty on the weekend, are you saying, well, he should have played this game? I remember Kevin De Bruyne saying when they won the treble and they were asked, how are you managing all these games? He was saying, well, actually, it's good because you're playing a lot of football, so you're not really thinking about the run-in, and actually you just keep playing and it keeps going, and your adrenaline and momentum kind of takes you through. But what we're likely to see really is Declan Rice looking really fueled and energised because he played 2 90s for England, put in a proper shift at the Etihad and got a rest whilst playing 25 minutes tonight. So that's probably the best outcome. So he rotated more than I expected. I also thought he'd make stronger subs. I thought maybe Jesus would come on.
Yeah.
But ultimately we did end up with Martinelli, Rice, Jorginho all being part of the subs, Tomiyasu. So maybe he couldn't have really done much more than that. I mean, I'm surprised Eddie came on, but really I shouldn't be because he adds the work ethic.
He needs minutes somewhere.
Yeah, and for sure the way Arteta approached this game surprised me a little bit, but it was just about getting 3 points and he got them, and he'll just be delighted that we've just come through it and now all eyes on Saturday.
Of course, absolutely. Obviously, you mentioned Emile Smith-Rowe, who I assume is your man of the match.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that you want to pinpoint in this game or that you thought had a great performance?
Well, I'll have a think while I'm answering about Smith-Rowe quickly because the biggest smile on my face comes from Emile Smith-Rowe.
Of course.
I loved his work ethic.
Absolutely.
Really worked so hard. He didn't look out of place in that number 8 role. He looked very suited to it. At times, he has looked like a number 10 shoved deeper. What I mean by that is they can sometimes positionally look not quite right. Don't know when to press, don't know when to sit back. He's constantly tracking runners. And then, of course, he's the one who presses and wins the ball back up the pitch, creates a transition moment. Havertz, I don't think had a great game, but he got his assist right. Yeah, that weighted pass right for Ødegaard so he can hit it first time. Yeah, absolutely. Ødegaard, by the way, the work ethic and class showed again at times. Other players, Trossard, because the thing, do you know what I love about Trossard is you can never be mad at a player for what they don't have. Like, if Jorginho isn't winning headers in the box against Van Dijk,
Because he's not 6'4".
Right, I can never be mad at that. But Trossard isn't blessed with brilliant pace. He's got, he can accelerate and he's got a little bit of speed. But it's his trickery that gets the better of fullbacks. And today you saw a lot of that. You saw him actually leaving players because he gave himself half a yard by thinking he was sending them one way, then going the other way. And that was great. And he was putting some good balls into the box, and he just looked like he was at the heart of most of our best attacking play in the first half. Second half, we didn't attack, but first half for sure. So he stood out. I know there was some criticism for Zinchenko and Partey, but I actually saw flashes of the really good stuff they can do. But I think we also saw that they're not quite last season's level because of the injuries and the lack of game time. So Gabriel and Saliba once again. I think if we don't have centre-backs, we can depend on those two, then maybe the Luton amount of possession actually becomes a poor header, a bit of bad positioning, a ricochet in the box we don't deal with, and suddenly it all becomes a little bit awkward. But because those two just mop up everything, and they don't just sit in a line and just get their head on everything, they'll follow, Morris into midfield, Saliba will cover, Saliba will come out to right back, Gabriel will find himself defending the right centre-back space. They're just moving with it because they're so comfortable in their ability to react and get back as well and recover if they have to. So we're very lucky to have them as well. And I think for all the changes Arteta made, I think he's right and clever to not mess with the centre-back partnership. I know a lot of fans thought, why don't you bring Tomiyasu in, or maybe give Zinchenko a start and move Kiwior to centre-back. Really, of every position in the pitch, if it's true that defence wins titles, you've got to keep that centre-back pairing playing, and that is really where that rhythm momentum needs to stay, and it definitely did tonight, so fair play to those two.
100%. And just to wrap things up, obviously we've got the game against Brighton on the weekend before the big one midweek next week. Still 100% confident going into them games?
About it for a second, the Bayern game, because you're always thinking league.
Yeah.
I mean, what's crazy is in 3 days' time we'll be saying 7 games to go, and you're like, wow, 7 left. What was the question? Am I confident for Brighton?
How confident are you going into that game?
I'm confident. Like I said, I don't think we've had a load of momentum built over the last 3-4 weeks, but whatever, that's fine because we're getting the job done and we're finding a way through, and we're showing some quality in all that as well. Of course I'm confident because of 9 wins and a draw in 10, and the team are looking sharp. And I'm just still very fueled by what they did at Man City. That tells me they can be really competitive in this title race, and certainly competitive for Bayern. So yeah, man, I'm ready for it.
Let's go.